Welcome to Not Ashamed. I'm your host, Ashley Nordman, and today we're going to actually change things up a little bit and we're going to do some listener questions. So something I'm going to start incorporating into the podcast is listener questions, so you can reach out anytime and ask any advice that you want from me or any topics really that I can answer. I love talking about relationships, life, friendships, skincare, health, anything like that. So contact me at ashnordman@gmail.com. That's my personal email, and you can submit your questions there. But I have some really, really great ones today that I want to dive into. And it's kind of a wide variety. So I'm really excited to kind of touch on many different topics and just deep dive into this. So thank you guys so much for always listening and participating and interacting with me. It's my favorite thing. It's literally why I do this, because I want to connect with you guys. So, all right, I'm going to grab my phone and we're going to get started. And we're just going to dive in here with the first question that I received. So this one is from Christina, and it says, "Hi, my name's Christina, and I need some dating advice. I'm talking to a cute guy. How do I make the first move?" Okay, so this one I thought about for a minute because I have a very bold personality. So making a first move for me is something that I kind of expect going into things, because I am just that kind of person. But I realize that most of us are not. And I do think there's a lot of, I don't even know what the right word is. There's a lot of pressure for men to be in charge of making the first move. But I think that's kind of dumb. I think it goes both ways. I think if you want to make the first move, you should. And if you feel like you need to, which clearly, Christina, it sounds like you want to, I say go for it, because I do think there's positives to being the one that makes the first move, because when you do, men see that as being confident. They see that as something that is sexy and attractive, and it goes both ways. Why does the man have to be the one that makes the first move? I truly have never thought that matters. And when I look back at relationships I've been in, or even just encounters with men, I feel like it kind of goes 50-50. Some guys have made the first move on me, and sometimes I'm the one that's made the first move on them. Making the first move, as scary as it can seem, I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to a couple of main things. So communicate with body language. That's always the easiest way to make a move without saying anything. Get close to them or grab their hand, or just being I don't want to say intimate, but showing them that you're interested is a really easy way to act hey, I'm into you. And that's just a subtle way of showing them that you like them without having to be, bold and forward and just say, hey, I'm interested. What do you want to do? So that's a great way to start, is communicate with body language. Another thing, which is probably a no-brainer, but engaging in good conversation and acting interested in them, asking about who they are and what they're into and the things that they love. Those things show that you're very interested in that person and can lead you into making the first move of hey, we should go out to dinner, or we should grab lunch or get coffee or something like that. When it's a natural progression, it's such an easy way to set up a date. Another thing that I think is really huge is just being honest and straightforward. So if you are interested, just saying it out loud, even though I just kind of said yeah, that's hard. It is hard, but it's also a confidence thing. And when you tell them hey, I'm super into you, I would love to get to know you more, a guy is going to love that. No guy is going to be ew, why are you into me? That's, unless they're taken, they're probably going to be hell yeah, let's do it. So just be honest, be upfront, be straightforward, cut to the chase. Don't play games, because I've learned the hard way over the years that people can't read your mind. So if you don't just tell them what the fuck is up, they're not gonna know. And we're probably, I'm assuming you're probably my age, because most of the people that are attracted to my podcast and me are in the same world as me. So I'm assuming you're probably in your early 30s like I am, or somewhere a little older or younger than that. I just think if you're not in high school anymore, there's no need to play this weird game of what are they thinking? Are they interested? Are they not? It's better to just cut to the chase, tell them you like them. And the worst that can happen is they say no. And you know what? You move on. So I would say start with maybe suggesting a coffee date or something, somewhere publicly for sure. You don't want to be like, hey, come to my house, pick me up, and let's go to dinner and like the city, like an hour away. Like do something that's safe and something that's easy where if it's like really awkward, you can escape it. But I would say like always suggesting like a coffee date or lunch date is such an easy way to segue into something. And it's very casual. You don't have to make it this big ordeal. Just like keep it super, super casual. So that's what I would do. If a man turns you down, he's stupid. So he's not for you then. And so just go for it. Be bold, be confident. I love that you asked this, and I really, really wish the best for you. You'll have to keep me updated, Christina, on how this goes. All right, next question. This is from Melissa. How do you manage people who give you unsolicited parenting advice? Girl, this is such a good question because my goodness, do I get enough of that shit every day. So I'm a mom. I'm a single mom. I have one daughter. She's almost 3. And the amount of freaking advice that I get from people without asking for it is like insane. And I wouldn't even call it advice. I'd almost call it like they're just being like opinionated and rude half the time. And a lot of times they're almost like trying to make me feel bad. Like, why are you doing that? Or, hey, like, I know you're feeding her this, but you should really be feeding her that. It's like, hello, I didn't ask you. Like, unless I'm asking you for advice and you're not coming from a very like sweet place, like don't do it. Like I'm reaching to all of you moms right now. Like if you see someone doing something that you disagree with, you can kindly tell them, hey, like because I care about you, like I want to give you some insight here. But 99% of the time, and I'm guessing from the way this question is asked, it's coming from a place of like negativity and like putting you down. And we're all just trying our hardest right now to be the best parents that we can. So we need to be giving each other grace. But anyway, so a few things that I would suggest for unsolicited advice. First of all, you have to set some boundaries here. So if you're getting advice from someone that you don't even care about, that you don't even really know, I would just let it go in one ear and out the other. I wouldn't even really entertain it. Now, if this is from family members or close friends, which unfortunately a lot of times it is, you can respectfully thank them for the advice and then just move it along. Because if you take the advice and you mull it over and you worry and you start questioning yourself and you start getting down on yourself because of what they said, that's going to set you up for a bad future because you're going to start basing your decisions on what everyone else is saying and thinking versus what you think is best. And you're a mom. Like you have that mama gut instinct. You know exactly what to do and how to do it. And now I say that like it doesn't mean you know the answers, but at the end of the day, you're going to make the best decision for your family. Are we going to mess up at times? Yeah. But if you need advice, you're going to ask for it. So if you're getting unsolicited advice, these are just opinionated people that do things differently. And just because people do things differently doesn't mean it's wrong. So please remember that. You might do it differently than another mom. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means it's different. And there's a million different ways to go about it. That's why there's thousands of books out there, so many blogs about this stuff. And there's never really a one clear, set and dry way. It comes down to your values, what you think is best, homeschooling, the way you feed your child, like potty training. I'm just thinking of all these things that are coming up in my life. And it's like, there's so many different ways to go about it. You can send them to daycare. You can put them in homeschool. You can stay home with them. You can potty train when they're 2, potty train when they're 4. Like at the end of the day, as long as they're healthy and happy, it like really doesn't matter the timeline that you do things or how you do it. And having the right supportive people around you are going to give you advice when you need it, not unsolicited, out of the blue bull crap. And I know it's hard, but the best thing you can do is just set boundaries, especially when it comes to people that don't really matter. And another thing is you can be open to the feedback you get from them. Like, absolutely. Like, I think it's important to always acknowledge it, but don't take everything in as gospel unless it's someone that you really look up to and admire. Like if it's a mom that you like adore and you love the way they go about things, then maybe take it seriously. But if it's somebody that you don't even know that is just like harassing you about something, just let it go. And don't take it personal because most of the time, I'd say almost every time, when people try to give you input on something because you're doing it differently than them, it's just a sign of like their own insecurities, or they might disagree with you just because you do it differently than them, but it doesn't mean you're wrong. So good luck, because I know that's really tough. Okay, next question. All right, so this one is interesting because it kind of brings up a lot in my own life. Hi, Remy. Will you lay down with me? Lay down, sweet girl. Do you want to read the question? Thank you. Okay, this one is from Kristen, and she says, how do you balance counting your macros as a busy working mom who's also a single parent? I am such a perfectionist. It drives me insane. Kristen, we are way too alike. So if you don't know what macro counting is, it's basically where you count your macronutrient levels. So your protein, carbs, and fats. Okay. And Kristen probably knows that I was a nutrition coach for years. I have a lot of education behind nutrition. I went to the Institute of Integrative Nutrition for 1.5 years and studied nutrition extensively. I used to coach people, write nutrition plans. I actually am doing it again because I miss it so much. And the girls in my Facebook group, shout out to my Facebook community, they've been working with me again on nutrition, and I love it. But an issue that I deal with a lot, and that a lot of my clients have and do still work around, is managing how to be structured, but also be a mom, and be a single mom at that. That's hard. And I'm a single mom, so I know how that is. It's very tough. Like it can be tricky to try and stay on track with your nutrition when you're chasing a toddler around all by yourself and doing the laundry and running errands and having to take them to school and all the craziness. But the thing that I have learned over and over and over that works the best, and this actually just made me think of this like picture I posted the other day on social media, because I finally, for the first time in my life, have kept my plants alive. And it's because I water them consistently. And I know that sounds so dumb, but I used to do this thing where I would buy a plant and I would put a ton of water in the pot, and then I would forget about it for like 2 weeks. And then when it was dying, I would like overwater it again to try to like make up for what I didn't do. And then it would just eventually completely die, because it was like, bitch, you're not giving me water daily. And now I'm getting this surplus and you're flooding my pot, and then it's gone for 2 weeks and it's a desert. And now I'm smart and I water my plants for literally 5 minutes every day, and they're thriving, and it's beautiful and it's easy and it's wonderful. And what I'm getting at is it's about consistency. It's not about intensity. If you're being intense and watering your plant like 2 weeks worth of water at once, you're going to flood it and kill it. If you're watering it a little bit each day, it's going to get healthier and better and grow and blossom and be beautiful. And so it's the same thing with your habits in your life. If you're being intense all up front and then you fall off and then you try to make up for it 2 weeks later and kill yourself in the gym, or have a perfect day of eating just salad or whatever, it doesn't make up for those 2 weeks that you weren't doing any of that. So what it comes down to is consistent habits every day. And it sometimes is just the small things. Like for me, I maintain my weight because I walk every day for 30 minutes and that's it. And it's like, it's not hours of killing myself. It's not anything crazy. It's just consistency of doing something over and over. And so with nutrition, it's the same exact way. And so what I've learned is that I might not be perfect. I used to be a perfectionist too. So I feel you, Kristen. I know that life, and it's so tough to break from it. But I think once you become a mom, you start understanding what really matters. And I'm not saying your nutrition doesn't matter, but I am saying that being perfect with tracking every little gram of protein going in your body, it's not going to make you or break you. You know, it comes down to like, are you eating healthy? Are you eating consistently 85% of the time? And are you planning? And for me, I get up early. I get up 2 hours before my daughter at least every day. And if I have to get up and cook food and meal prep for the week and have my little containers of food already weighed out with my little scale, I do it. And so I find that it's best to plan ahead. And on those days that I have extra free time, if I can take advantage of that and go to the store or Instacart my food and meal prep and make big batches of things and at least have my meals kind of ready to go in the fridge, I can just pull them out It's so easy. And then I'm not having to stress over throwing things together throughout the day. My toddler's crazy. She pooped in her pants. I'm trying to change her diaper. I don't have any food, and then I get McDonald's. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just the best thing you can do is be prepared. I always have a lunchbox on me with an ice pack, and I always have food in my lunchbox no matter where I go. Even if I'm supposed to be gone for an hour, I will take like a meal with me just in case, God forbid, something happens. And it actually is nice because I can put snacks in there for my daughter too. So I put like a juice box in there, some fruit, some like puffs, like all kinds of stuff. And so I just always have a lunchbox always on me with snacks. So being prepared is the number one thing. You're not going to be perfect, but if you have MyFitnessPal on your phone, you can log your meals as you go if you somehow get thrown off. And just like I said, take 1 or 2 days a week to prepare. Another thing you can do is order meals. I am a huge advocate for like time is money, and I would rather spend my time with my daughter, and I would also like to spend my time working. And so if I don't have a lot of time to meal prep, and there's some weeks that I don't, I will order meals. And shout out to MegaFit Meals. I love them. This is not sponsored. I pay $250+ every time I order their meals, and they are worth every penny. MegaFit Meals is the best. My nutrition coach that I used to work with actually recommended them to me originally, and their food is completely clean. It's made in these great, like FDA cleared like kitchens, and the quality of the food and the taste is incredible. I've tried so many meal prep places and I don't think they taste good, and then I don't eat them and they go to waste. And the number one thing I fucking hate wasting is food. And so meal preps are so nice because I can keep them in my freezer, and then I just take them out and I put them in the microwave for 3.5 minutes, and they're perfectly cooked and I'm ready to go, and I put some sea salt on them and eat them. And so those have changed my life. I'm actually getting surgery this week, and I'm probably not gonna be able to cook a lot. So I pre-ordered meals that actually come today, and I usually order like the 16 pack. And it's just super nice because it has all the macros on them. I can log them in MyFitnessPal, and it's super simple. So just keep it simple. Don't make it complicated. And it's about small time commitments every day that help you stay on track versus trying to like overdo it and then make up for it, and then overdo it and then make up for it. And if you can at least make your breakfast at home every morning, have a lunch and dinner pre-made or pre-bought from like a place like MegaFit Meals, and bring some healthy snacks with you. Always have them in your purse, a protein bar. Shout out to True Bar. Love them. I just interviewed the owner of True Bar and I love her. Like those kind of things are going to make such a difference. So I feel you on the perfectionism thing. I understand how tough it can be. I will just give you one little nugget of advice if you want to hear it, I guess. But the thing that I'm going to say here is being a mom is so amazing, but the only thing that I stress about a little bit with nutrition now that I am a mother is that I don't want my daughter to ever develop unhealthy habits with eating. And I'm not saying that you have them at all, but I will say, like, if she sees me weighing out food and counting every morsel and tracking everything and obsessing and being super, super, super perfect all the time. And so I'm very mindful of how I show up for my daughter. And that's why I try to make my food when she's not around me. And so then when I eat with her, it just looks like mommy's eating with her. It doesn't look like I'm weighing things out and like being super portioned. And if we're out and she wants a snack, I'll eat one with her, and it's fine. It's not the end of the world. It's about the small habits every day. And as long as I'm eating a healthy breakfast, lunch, and dinner and bring some snacks with me, that's all I really care about. And I just hope that this can hopefully like positively impact you too, because I don't want you obsessing, and I don't want that to be something that then your family sees also. So just something to keep in mind.
We'll get back to the podcast in just a moment. This episode is sponsored by AN Skin, your answer for all things skincare and beauty. Our medical-grade products, made in the USA, use high-quality ingredients and are clinically proven to give you clear, healthy, youthful skin. Everything is cruelty-free. Visit anskinbeauty.com to shop now and regain your confidence. Now, back to the episode.
Okay, the next question is from, let's see. Hi, my name's Katie. I am struggling with low libido and sex drive. Not sure if it is health related or mental or both. Before marriage, we used sex as a way to feel valued, and now I have no desire. Okay, so I love this question. First of all, Katie, thank you so much for such an honest and vulnerable question. I know this can be really hard, and I think anything related to like sex stuff can be like awkward, especially like in the culture we live in, but there's nothing to really be ashamed of. Like we all struggle with these things, and intimacy is such an important part of your relationship. So to me, like you even asking this shows me that you really care and like want to like get to the bottom of this. And I actually think so many women are going to relate to this question because I know I do. So there's a lot of things we could discuss here, but when I first think of like low libido from like a clinical health standpoint, I immediately think of a couple things. So it can be, well, okay, yeah, let's talk about like the health related things first. So first of all, stress and anxiety can lower your sex drive because when your cortisol is high, it lowers your sex hormones. It just naturally like depletes your sex hormones. And so if you're very stressed or going through a stressful period of life, like that's why a lot of times when you're really stressed, you like literally just feel like you have no energy to do anything because your body is in like survival mode, just trying to get through this stressful period. And the last thing it's thinking about is being intimate, you know? So if you're really stressed out, that could absolutely be part of it. So yoga, meditation, journaling, taking ashwagandha, anything you can do to like really relax your nervous system is going to absolutely help your hormones and even your sex drive. Another thing is hormonal changes obviously can affect this as well. So I don't know if you're postpartum or if you recently had a baby or maybe you're pregnant or if you're on hormonal birth control, that can lower your sex drive. When I was on birth control, I had absolutely zero anything going on there. Like I felt like a zombie and I never even felt like I wanted like intimacy at all. And later I realized it's because hormonal birth control did that to me. So that's something to consider if you're on birth control. Another thing, if you're approaching menopause, like that's a realistic thing and it happens to a lot of women. So I would recommend getting blood work done if you have any thought that it could be related to your hormones because usually that is a main culprit. Blood work can be great, or even a Dutch test, which is a urine test. It can really tell you exactly what's going on with your sex hormones and that can give you some answers. A lot of women surprisingly have low testosterone and that can cause libido issues too. Because yes, women need testosterone as well, just not as much as men do. I actually just did blood work recently because I wasn't having issues with my libido at all, but I was starting to feel like some hormonal stuff going on. And my labs actually look really good, which was kind of shocking to me. But the first thing my doctor suggested was doing labs for blood work. And then the next thing I'm going to mention, which is my thyroid. So I have hypothyroidism. And when my thyroid is in a really bad place, it really affects my sex drive. So I don't know if you have ever had a history of thyroid conditions or if you've ever tested your thyroid, but I would look at like your T3 and your T4 as well. Make sure that your thyroid's functioning well because your thyroid is what produces your sex hormones. So that all is correlated. And what's kind of interesting is like with my situation, I did labs, like I said, and my blood work looked pretty good. My thyroid looked good. My sex hormones looked good. So my doctor is like, okay, well, the next steps is we can check your adrenals, which your adrenals go with your cortisol levels, which is your stress, which I would be interested to see what's going on there because I've been really stressed lately. Or it could be like related to my gut too, which I have a really long history of gut issues, and your gut is your second brain and it also produces your hormones also as well. So like if your gut is off, it can mess with your hormones. And also you just don't feel good. Like if you feel bloated and icky, like you're not going to feel sexy and like want to do that too. And I'm definitely starting to notice some issues again, like with my gut, which I can talk about at another time because this is about you. But I do kind of want to do like a stool test or something soon to see if my gut is having some problems, because if your gut is not healthy or you have bad bacteria in there or something, you're not going to be converting your hormones properly and your thyroid isn't going to be functioning right. And it just is all correlated. So there's so many different things you can look at. And unfortunately, I don't have the key to knowing like what it is here for you, but those are just some things to consider. Another thing though I do want to talk about here is that sometimes when you're experiencing low libido, and this is something I've dealt with before, it can be a sign of relationship issues. It could be telling you that maybe you guys have some unresolved fights or resentment, or you're not connecting, or you're not having close communication, or maybe something happened in your life where you just feel very insecure, or maybe he's not made you, but you know what I mean? Like maybe something that has happened has caused you to like question yourself, or you don't feel like you look good enough, or like you're not performing good enough, or whatever it might be. And so I really challenge you. This is why I like journaling, to like look inward and think about maybe what could be triggering you if it is something from like a mental place, because you did mention that it could be mental. So I have this feeling that you kind of know that there might be a mental piece to it. And if that is what's like drawing you in, I really, really want you to ask yourself, like, what is it that has happened maybe over the last 6 months that could be causing me to feel disconnected with him? Because I know when I don't feel close to my man, like, I don't want to do any of that stuff. If I feel like he's offending me, disrespecting me, not interested, like, I'm not going to go out of my way and want to do that either. I don't want to be rejected again. I don't want to be let down. I don't want to be disappointed. I don't want to have a bad experience. And it can kind of make me pull away. And honestly, the mental piece, I think, is the biggest piece, because I find that you have the most intimacy with the people that you are the closest with, and you have the least amount of intimacy when you feel very, very far apart. So look to that. Maybe talk to your partner. I would definitely suggest counseling if you're feeling like there's some unresolved conflict or communication issues. I love counseling, and I think couples therapy is super, super helpful. It can sometimes bring you guys closer, or it can sometimes tell you that, like, we're not meant to be. And I'm not saying you and him aren't meant to be. It sounds like you guys have a probably good relationship if you're wanting to fix this and work on this. I'm not hearing anything that's saying like this is going to break us apart, but I just think it could be a sign that there's some things you guys need to focus on. So I hope you really figure out what that is. And it could be a combination of both, a little bit of some mental stuff you haven't talked about with him, and a little bit of like your health as well. So try to hone in on that. I'll be praying for you, Katie. Good luck with that. Okay. Brianna. Ooh, this one is right up my alley. So Brianna says, hey, love your podcast. How do you deal with losing friends? I know you've talked about this a few times. I'm going through this right now and I'm at a loss. Please help. Okay. Losing friends is so tough, I will admit. I mean, it is like losing your arm sometimes. Like, you can have friends that are like your best friends and all of a sudden they're gone, and it feels like a breakup, and it's painful. And I think this is something I talked to, who did I talk to? My massage therapist and I feel like every time she massages me and is like digging into my back, I'm like laying there telling her my life story. And I'm like, oh, God, this is such a recurring thing. And she always tells me this too. She's like, Ashley, this is so hard for you, but I feel like you do have like you recycle friends sometimes, like moving into new friend groups, because you're always growing. And when you're growing, it moves some of these people out, So just remind yourself that all friendships aren't meant to be there forever. And that's a kind of negative way to look at it, I guess. But in reality, it's also just very honest. Some friendships are just meant to be for a season or for a period of your life. And there's always a reason. They help you get through something, or you relate to them, or at the very least, they help you understand what you don't want in a friend, or they help you navigate how to now start setting boundaries, or what you will and won't accept from people. And I feel like when I lose a friend, I'm a very analytical person, and I'm also someone who looks inward. So I'm very, very much so someone who takes responsibility for things. So if I lose a friend, I immediately look to myself. What did I do? What caused me to lose this friend? And in many ways, I think it's a good quality, but I also think it can be bad, because I like to blame myself when sometimes it just happens. Like, you're just not meant to be friends anymore for whatever reason. God removed them and they're not growing with you. They're not going in the same direction. It's a painful realization, but I think in hindsight, you always realize like there was a reason they got removed. And so allow yourself the memories, allow yourself to remember them and to love the positive moments you had with them. It can be so painful. But again, take time to realize that not all friendships are meant to stay. And it's okay to take time to yourself and to grieve and mourn the loss of a friendship. That is absolutely what I would do. And that's what I always do when I lose a friend. It's painful, but it's also like you have to allow yourself to like feel all the feelings so that you can move forward. And another thing I really urge you to do is to not wait for an apology. If they cut you off, don't wait for an apology, because they might cut you off and they might just move on. Or maybe you and them both had like a falling out, and unless you feel like there's something on your heart that you need to apologize for, I wouldn't wait for it. I would just keep moving forward with your life and keep growing and working on yourself. And if that person comes back into your life, then it is meant to be. And maybe you can rekindle the friendship. But I will say almost every time I've lost a friend, it's very hard to gain them back. I have one friend that I've been able to do that with. She's my childhood best friend. And I wouldn't even say I really lost her. We just went through a really hard period of time. But we've done a lot of work and we've had a lot of tough conversations and we've had a lot of tears and we've really, really been honest and owned the things that we did wrong. She owned everything she's done wrong and I've owned everything I've done wrong, and we both have forgiven each other, and it has been the most beautiful friendship I could ever ask for. But I also think immediately back to this friend that I had in high school, and she cut me and actually my best friend that I was just talking about, she cut me and her off. We were like a group of 3 and she cut both of us off. And I remember her and I just crying and being so upset because we had such good memories with her. She was so fun, so funny, so intelligent. Like, we loved her. And we just like weren't good enough for her for whatever reason. We never did anything to her. She just wanted to be in this other friend group and kind of kicked us out. And it was so painful. I mean, it took us like 2 years to get on with that, like to move on from that. It was painful because we just missed her like so bad. And I remember finally one day like sitting down with my best friend and being like, we just have to move on from this. She is not going to come back. Like, we wanted so badly for her to just come back, be our friend again. But I do think, like, looking back, she wasn't meant to grow with us. Like, me and her are doing great things with our life and we're very, very close and we have so many things in common. And I think she just went in a different direction. But at the time, it didn't make any sense. You know, it was so painful. And obviously we never expected her to like go in this totally other direction than we did. But that's why you have to trust the process and trust God and trust that there's a reason they got removed from your life, because I didn't want to end up down that path. And the people you're around, that's who you're likely to turn into. So in the end, it was a giant blessing, but it was just very painful as we went through it. So please keep this in mind. Don't take it personal. I really hope you can navigate this season as well as you can. It's so painful to lose friends, but just always remember that like there's a reason that they're not in your life anymore. And if they wanted to be your friend, they would. So, okay, that's all the time we have for today with your questions. I have so many more I want to get to that we will in a future episode. And please keep submitting your questions to me. You can message them to me on Instagram at @Nordman, or you can email me at ashnordman@gmail.com. That's my personal email. I read all of your emails. Send me your submissions, any questions that you have at any time. But yeah, until next time, thank you guys so much, and be loud, be proud, and be shameless.
For more information, visit us at anskinbeauty.com to shop all our medical grade skincare,